Epping Forest, located on the border between London and Essex, holds a history steeped in mystery and intrigue. Although it is now a popular destination for outdoor enthusiasts, its ancient roots tell a much darker story. Stretching back to the early medieval period, the forest was originally a royal hunting ground, a space where kings and queens of England would seek sport among its wild landscape. However, the forest's history extends far beyond this. Archaeological evidence suggests that the land has been home to human activity for millennia, dating back to the time of the ancient Celts and Saxons. These early peoples regarded the forest not just as a place of beauty and sustenance, but as something sacred, a realm where the boundaries between the living and the spiritual world were far thinner than they are today. It was a place where mysterious rites were performed, where the earth itself seemed to pulse with an energy not entirely understood by those who walked its paths. As centuries passed, the forest became the backdrop for countless stories, some of which have been lost to time. Small, isolated communities sprang up along its edges, their residents living in the shadow of the vast woodlands. These people, who found solace in the stillness of the forest, spoke in hushed tones of strange occurrences that defied logical explanation. There were whispers of eerie lights seen flickering between the trees at night, far from the reach of any lantern or campfire. Locals also spoke of an unsettling presence, a feeling of being watched by unseen eyes, even when the forest seemed empty. Some claimed to have heard faint, mournful cries carried by the wind, though no one could ever locate their source. The older generations told tales of mysterious figures wandering the depths of the forest, figures that seemed to fade into the trees or disappear without a trace. These stories were not just born out of superstition, they were the result of real experiences that had unsettled those who lived nearby. And as the years went by, the legends grew, weaving together a tapestry of unease and foreboding. The forest's connection to ancient rituals is another part of its sinister allure. The Celts, whose presence in Britain was strong during the early centuries, are believed to have performed sacred ceremonies within the depths of Epping Forest. These rites were said to involve offerings to the gods, as well as practices intended to connect the living with the spirit world. Many of these ceremonies were shrouded in secrecy, and their details remain a mystery. What is known, however, is that these rituals were believed to carry great power, able to influence the world in ways unseen by ordinary eyes. The Druids, who were the spiritual leaders of the Celts, are often associated with these ancient practices. It is said that some of their rituals involve sacrifices, performed under the cover of night, to appease the gods and ensure good harvests, favorable weather, and the protection of the community. These offerings, whether animals or, according to some accounts, even humans, were believed to bind the souls of the sacrifice to the very land itself, their spirits forever bound to the forest, never truly leaving its shadowy depths. The strange happenings in the forest only intensified over time. As the centuries wore on, communities surrounding Epping began to dwindle, either due to disease, famine, or simply the gradual shift of populations towards cities. But while the physical presence of people waned, the stories did not fade. In fact, as the years passed, the forest's reputation grew ever darker. The lost souls of those sacrificed in ancient rituals were said to still roam the forests, their wailing cries filling the night air. It became a place where people dared not go after dark, for fear of encountering something from the other side. Those who ventured too far into the forest spoke of feeling an oppressive weight on their chest, of hearing footsteps behind them when no one was there, and of a strange, almost magnetic pull that led them deeper into the woods, as if the trees themselves were guiding them toward an unknown fate. Even in the modern day, Epping Forest remains an enigma, a place where reality and myth seem to collide. Visitors still speak of odd occurrences, a feeling of being watched, or the sudden appearance of strange figures at the edge of their vision. Some claim to have seen fleeting shapes darting between the trees, figures that vanish just as quickly as they appear. Others have reported hearing ghostly whispers or inexplicable sounds echoing through the forest. These encounters, whether imagined or real, have only added to the forest's reputation as a place where the past never truly leaves. The spirits of those long gone, whether they were ancient kings, Celtic druids, or the lost souls of the sacrificed, are said to linger in the shadows, protecting the forest's dark secrets from those who would seek to uncover them. Epping Forest, with its deep history, remains an eerie testament to the mysteries of the past, where the past and present collide, and the line between myth and reality is impossible to define. Epping Forest, with its dense thickets and winding paths, has long been a place of mystery and beauty, but it is also a place haunted by an unsettling number of disappearances that have occurred over the years. These vanishings have been the subject of much speculation, some easily explained away, while others remain a chilling enigma, unresolved and often ignored. The forest, with its labyrinthine trails and ancient trees, has become a place where people seem to vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions and fear. For many, Epping Forest's dark reputation for disappearances draws unsettling parallels to another infamous woodland, Aokigahara, the suicide forest in Japan. Known for its association with unexplained deaths, Aokigahara is a place where the spirits of the lost are said to wander. Epping Forest, though far removed from Japan, has become a similarly eerie place where the boundaries between life and death seem thinner than anywhere else. Over the years, there have been numerous reports of individuals entering the forest and never returning. Some were experienced hikers, others were simply visitors who found themselves lost in its dense undergrowth. But what is truly unsettling is the frequency with which these disappearances occur. It's as though the forest has a way of claiming those who venture too far into its depths. In some cases, the missing individuals have been found days or even weeks later, often in places far from where they were last seen, their minds clouded, confused, and often unwilling to speak of what they experienced. And in others, the missing remain just that, lost to the woods, with no trace left behind. Much like Aokigahara, where it is believed that the forest's eerie atmosphere contributes to people's decisions to end their lives, Epping Forest's dark history seems to cast a shadow over those who enter. Some locals believe that the forest itself possesses a strange energy, one that pulls people deeper into its dark heart, where they lose all sense of direction, reality, and sometimes their will to return. The thick canopy of trees casts a constant shadow over the forest floor, and the air within the woods has a stillness to it, almost as if time itself slows down. Visitors often describe feeling disoriented or uneasy, as if they were being watched or followed by an unseen presence. There are also rumors of people hearing strange sounds or voices calling out to them from the shadows, only to find no one there when they turn. The eerie quiet of the forest can be overwhelming, and some claim that it is precisely this unsettling atmosphere that leads people to wander deeper until they lose all sense of time and place. For those who vanish without a trace, it is as though the forest itself claims them, swallowing them whole and leaving nothing but their empty footsteps behind. These disappearances have not gone unnoticed, and while some are written off as accidents or the result of a lack of preparation, others defy explanation. Despite the efforts of search parties and investigators, the vastness of the forest makes it difficult to find those who go missing. And when people do turn up, it is often in the most bizarre circumstances. Strange, confusing behavior or physical states that suggest they were not simply lost, but drawn into something far more disturbing. In some cases, people are found without their belongings, stripped of their possessions in a way that hints at something far darker lurking within the forest's shadows. For many, Epping Forest has taken on an aura of danger, one that mirrors the legends of Aokigahara. It is a place where people are drawn to for reasons they cannot explain, only to disappear without a trace. The connection between the two forests is undeniable. Both are places of eerie stillness, where the energy of the forest seems to have an almost magnetic pull, drawing people into the depths from which they may never return. The number of unsolved disappearances continues to grow, and with each case, the forest's dark connection to the unknown becomes ever more apparent. Whether it is the forest itself, the lingering spirits of those who have vanished before, or something even darker, one thing is certain: Epping Forest has become a place where many enter, but few leave unchanged. Epping Forest, with its dense canopy and eerie stillness, has long been a place steeped in local folklore, where the whispers of the past linger among the trees and the wind carries tales of the supernatural. Among the stories passed down through generations, there are those that speak of ghostly visitors, spirits of the lost and the forgotten who are said to haunt the woods, still wandering in search of something that they never quite find. The forest has always been a place where the line between the living and the dead is said to blur, where the veil between worlds grows thin as night falls. And it is when the sun dips below the horizon that the true mystery of Epping Forest comes alive, as the whispers of the past are carried by the wind and strange figures move between the trees. One of the most enduring legends is that of the phantom hiker, a ghostly figure said to appear at dusk, walking the forest paths with a quiet, purposeful gait. Witnesses claim to have seen a tall man dressed in old-fashioned clothing, his face obscured by the brim of his hat, walking alone through the forest as if on some unseen journey. What's most unsettling about this figure is not just the fact that he seems to appear out of nowhere, but that he is often seen near the very spots where people have gone missing over the years. Some believe that the phantom hiker is the spirit of one of the many lost souls, forever walking the forest in search of something, perhaps even someone, he has lost. Those who have followed him say that he leads them deep into the heart of the woods before disappearing into the trees without a sound, as if swallowed by the very forest itself. Another ghostly presence in the forest is that of the Lady in White, a figure said to be seen on foggy evenings, drifting silently through the mist that rises from the forest floor. Descriptions of the lady vary, but most agree that she is dressed in a long, flowing white gown, her pale face framed by dark, disheveled hair. The Lady in White is said to be a spirit of sorrow, one who wanders the forest in mourning for a lost lover or a child, depending on the version of the story. Some claim that she is the restless spirit of a woman who died under mysterious circumstances, her body never found, and that her soul now roams the woods, unable to find peace. Those who have encountered her say that she never speaks, but her presence fills the air with a profound sense of grief, as if the very forest is mourning with her. The forest is also home to the spirits of those who were never seen again, the victims of unexplained disappearances over the centuries. These lost souls are said to wander the woods, calling out for help or lost in their own confusion, their voices drifting through the trees on quiet nights. People have claimed to hear faint whispers in the wind, the voices of those who were once alive, but whose fates remain a mystery. Some have heard these voices calling their names, beckoning them deeper into the woods, only to find themselves disoriented and lost. In the eerie stillness of the forest, the sound of footsteps following behind is not uncommon, but when the person turns, there is no one there. It is as if the spirits of the forest are forever chasing, forever searching for something that they will never find. There are also accounts of strange, shadowy figures moving between the trees, figures that seem to flicker in and out of existence, never quite solid or real. These shadows are said to be the remnants of past rituals, the spirits of those who were once sacrificed in the forest's ancient ceremonies, their souls trapped in a never-ending loop of suffering. It is believed that these figures, too, are searching for something, perhaps redemption, perhaps vengeance. Some say that if you stray too far into the woods at night, these shadows will follow you, always remaining just out of sight but never leaving. Those who have reported encounters with these figures often speak of a feeling of being watched, of a presence just beyond the corner of their vision, always lurking, never fully visible. The folklore surrounding Epping Forest is filled with ghostly tales that speak of the forest's long and mysterious history. It is a place where the past and present seem to collide, where the spirits of the lost continue to walk among the living, whether they are the souls of those who vanished long ago, the remnants of ancient rituals, or visitors from a realm beyond. These ghostly figures serve as a reminder that Epping Forest is not just a place of nature, but a realm where the boundaries between worlds are thin and the past refuses to stay buried. The strange figures that haunt the woods, The whispers that echo through the trees and the eerie sightings that continue to be reported serve as proof that Epping Forest is far more than just a place. It is a living testament to the mysteries that remain unsolved, waiting for someone to uncover them. Deep within the shadows of Epping Forest, there exists an eerie phenomenon that has confounded visitors, locals and investigators alike for years: the mysterious, often unsettling markings on certain trees. These trees, scattered across the forest, appear to bear strange symbols or scars, some of which seem to resemble the markings left behind by past suicides, though no clear explanation has ever been offered. They are often found in clusters concentrated in specific areas of the forest, adding a layer of chilling uncertainty to an already unsettling location. It is as though these trees bear witness to something dark, something tragic, tied to the forest's long and secretive history. And despite the years of speculation and investigation, the true origin of these markings and the strange concentration of such incidents in these areas remains unsolved, adding to the forest's haunting legacy. Many of the trees that bear these markings are old and gnarled, their trunks twisted in unnatural shapes, as though they too carry the weight of the stories that have unfolded around them. The marks themselves vary. Some appear as deep gouges in the bark, others as strange symbols etched into the wood, while some trees have limbs twisted or broken in unnatural ways. Over time, these marks have come to be associated with a darker history, particularly with suicides that have taken place in the forest. Some claim that these trees are the remnants of a long-standing tradition, a place where those who have ended their lives have done so, leaving behind marks as a final statement. The chilling consistency with which these markings appear in certain areas of the forest has fueled the theory that these trees are tied to a past steeped in despair and death. The phenomenon has led to numerous theories, though none have been definitively proven. One theory suggests that the markings are related to a pattern of suicides that have occurred in the forest over the years, particularly in the more isolated, hidden areas. These places, far from the main paths, have long been associated with a feeling of oppressive loneliness, as if the forest itself draws in those who are struggling with dark thoughts. The theory posits that the trees in some way have become symbolic of the tragic lives lost in the forest, each mark a silent memorial to someone who chose to end their life among the quiet, shadowed trees. Over time, the forest has been dubbed a site of lost souls, with these marked trees serving as a haunting reminder of the pain and sorrow that have unfolded under the canopy. Others suggest that the marks are tied to something more ancient, perhaps even to the mysterious rituals that were once performed in the forest. The strange symbols etched into the trees have been likened to runes or signs of an occult nature, reminiscent of the practices carried out by the ancient Druids or other forgotten groups who once considered Epping Forest a sacred and powerful place. The idea is that these markings could be remnants of ceremonies performed long ago, when the forest was thought to hold power over life and death. In this theory, the trees are not just witnesses to suicides, but markers of a deeper, more mystical connection to the forest's past, a connection that is now lost to time, leaving only these strange remnants behind. Still, another theory points to the possibility of a more psychological phenomenon. Some believe that the concentration of suicides in specific areas of the forest and the subsequent markings on the trees could be the result of something akin to a place of despair. In this view, the forest itself becomes a place where the minds of those who enter it are drawn into a darker, more somber state. These secluded, quiet areas where the markings are found might act as a kind of psychological trap, luring individuals in with a sense of isolation and melancholy that overwhelms them. The trees in turn become symbolic of this collective despair, their markings an unintended and tragic byproduct of the forest's effect on the human psyche. What remains undeniable is the eerie concentration of these strange markings, as well as the unsettling atmosphere they create. Some visitors to Epping Forest, unaware of the history of these marked trees, are startled to come across them. The trees seem to stand out from the rest, their twisted trunks and strange symbols appearing almost unnatural, as though they were not merely part of the forest, but active participants in the dark history of the land. Those who have stumbled upon these marked trees often speak of a sense of unease, a feeling that something is not quite right, as if the trees are somehow watching or waiting. There is a palpable sense of grief and sorrow in the air, and the silence of the forest grows heavier in these spots, as though the land itself is holding its breath. As the years go by, the mystery of the hanging trees and their markings continues to baffle those who study the forest's strange history. Some say the markings will always remain unexplained, part of the broader enigma of Epping Forest, a forest that seems to hold on to its secrets tightly, refusing to let them go. Whether these markings are the result of ancient rituals, tragic suicides, or something more psychological, one thing remains certain: they add another layer to the forest's haunting reputation. Epping Forest is a place where the past is never fully left behind, where the scars of history remain etched into the very trees, and where the boundaries between life, death, and the supernatural are forever intertwined. Epping Forest, with its labyrinthine network of trails, is a place where many have ventured, only to become hopelessly lost in its vast, twisted depths. The forest's sprawling pathways, some well-trodden, others barely visible beneath a blanket of moss and underbrush, have a way of disorienting even the most seasoned hikers. What makes these trails so unnerving is not just their complexity, but the strange phenomenon that occurs when people find themselves lost. Paths that seem to shift, trees that look eerily similar, and a constant sense of being watched, as though something unseen is following them deeper into the heart of the forest. For those who have ventured into Epping Forest, the feeling of being watched is perhaps the most unnerving aspect of their experience. It's as though the forest is alive, with eyes peering through the branches, silently observing every movement. Some hikers speak of hearing footsteps behind them, though when they turn round, no one is there. Others report a sudden, inexplicable urge to look over their shoulder, only to catch a fleeting glimpse of something or someone vanishing into the shadows of the trees. This strange sensation is often accompanied by a growing sense of dread, as if the forest itself is aware of their presence, and it is not welcoming them. The most disturbing aspect of being lost in Epping Forest, however, is the seeming inability to retrace one's steps. Hikers who have wandered off the main paths often find themselves in a disorienting cycle, where no matter which direction they choose, the landscape around them remains eerily the same. The forest is notorious for its winding, overlapping trails that twist and turn in ways that seem impossible to follow. A path that once seemed familiar may suddenly disappear, leading the hiker in circles. The trees, once landmarks, begin to look identical, their twisted forms blurring together in an unsettling pattern of repetition. No matter how many times a hiker retraces their steps, they find themselves deeper in the forest, farther from where they began. The stories of those who have become lost in Epping Forest are numerous. One common thread runs through all of them: the persistent feeling that something or someone is leading them astray. It is as if the forest itself has a will of its own, guiding its visitors deeper into its shadows, where they become trapped in an endless loop of confusion. Some hikers report walking for hours, only to find themselves back at the same spot they had passed hours before, with no memory of how they arrived there. Others speak of paths that appear to vanish without a trace, leaving them with no clear direction to follow. It's as though the forest is conspiring to keep them lost, to prevent them from finding their way out. Lost. The lost toward the light, to the unfamiliar fright. What makes these experiences even more unsettling is the growing sense of isolation that accompanies them. The deeper one goes into the forest, the more the world outside seems to fade away. The sounds of traffic, the hum of city life, and the distant voices of other people vanish, replaced by the heavy silence of the woods. The forest seems to swallow all sound, leaving only the eerie rustle of leaves and the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. In these moments of solitude, the feeling of being watched intensifies. It is not just a vague sense of unease, but a sharp, pressing awareness that something is observing, waiting. Some hikers speak of an overwhelming desire to turn back, but the deeper they venture, the harder it becomes to remember the way they came. Perhaps the most chilling part of these disorienting experiences is the sensation that the forest is actively interfering with a person's ability to find their way. It is as though the pathways themselves have a malevolent quality, warping and shifting to prevent those who wander too far from returning. There are accounts of hikers who have become convinced that the forest is playing tricks on them, leading them down paths they've already walked or causing them to miss signs that should have been obvious. Some have reported seeing landmarks they recognize, only to discover upon closer inspection that they are somehow different, shifted, altered, or completely absent. The feeling that the forest is not just confusing but actively deceptive adds a layer of fear to the experience of being lost. Even after these hikers have managed to find their way out, the memory of being lost in Epping Forest lingers. Many speak of a lasting sense of dread, an uneasiness that remains long after they've left the forest behind. The overwhelming feeling of being watched, the disorienting nature of the trails, and the ever-present sense that something was guiding them deeper into the woods are not easily forgotten. For some, the experience changes them forever, leaving them with a fear of the forest that never truly fades. While some might dismiss these tales as the product of an overactive imagination or the natural disorientation that comes with being in an unfamiliar place, there are too many stories to ignore. Epping Forest, with its twisting paths and dense woods, has long been a place where reality seems to bend, where the line between the known and the unknown becomes blurred. The trails that lead nowhere are a haunting reminder that some places, like the forest itself, seem to exist outside the realm of logic and understanding, and for those who venture too far into its depths, there is no telling what they may encounter, or what may be waiting for them just beyond the trees. Epping Forest, known for its natural beauty and historical significance, hides within its depths something far darker than the eye can see. Beneath the peaceful canopy of trees and the winding paths that draw in both nature lovers and adventurers alike, there lies a sinister history of occult practices that has long remained hidden from the public eye. Over the years, disturbing evidence has surfaced suggesting that the forest is not just a natural space, but a place where rituals, symbols, and sacrifices have taken place. An eerie connection to the occult that adds a layer of malevolence to the forest's already unsettling reputation. The first signs of the forest's link to occult practices often begin with the discovery of strange symbols etched into trees or carved into the earth. These markings, which appear to be far more than simple graffiti, bear a disturbing resemblance to ancient runes or sigils used in occult rituals. Some symbols are crude, while others appear meticulously etched, as though they were part of a deliberate and careful act of creation. Local legends have long hinted at the forest's association with secret societies and cults, but it is the physical evidence, these marks, hidden among the trees, that offers a chilling glimpse into a darker world. The patterns and designs etched into the bark of certain trees often defy easy explanation, and the sheer concentration of these symbols in specific areas of the forest hints at something far more sinister than the actions of a few rogue individuals. Alongside the symbols, there have been reports of strange, ritualistic altars found in the more isolated areas of the forest. These altars, which appear to be man-made structures, often consist of stones arranged in a circle or a pattern, sometimes with offerings placed nearby. The items left behind are unsettling in nature. Animal bones, remnants of candles, and objects that appear to have been used in some form of ritualistic sacrifice. In some cases, the remains of small animals, often with signs of violent death, have been discovered near these altars, adding a disturbing layer to the already unnerving scene. These sacrifices, it seems, are not a product of random acts of cruelty, but part of a deliberate and purposeful practice tied to ancient rituals. The choice of animals, often linked to specific occult beliefs, suggests that these rituals are not merely symbolic, but part of a deeper, more disturbing spiritual practice. The forest's connection to occult practices is further evidenced by reports of strange occurrences and unsettling experiences experienced by those who have stumbled upon these hidden areas. Many of those who have encountered the ritual sites or the symbols etched into the trees speak of a sudden drop in temperature, a thickening of the air that feels oppressive and heavy. There are tales of a feeling of being watched, of an unexplainable presence that seems to linger just beyond the corner of the eye. Some people describe a sense of foreboding that washes over them when they approach these ritualistic sites, as though the forest itself is aware of their intrusion. Others speak of hearing faint chanting or murmured voices coming from deeper within the woods. Though no one is ever seen, it is as if the forest is holding its breath, waiting for something or someone to awaken. What is perhaps most chilling about the evidence of occult activity in Epping Forest is the realization that these practices may not have been isolated to a single group or a specific time period. The symbols, altars, and sacrifices appear to be spread out across different regions of the forest, suggesting that the area has long been a site of occult activity. Some believe that the forest has attracted practitioners of dark magic for centuries, with its dense woods and isolation providing the perfect cover for secretive rituals. The forest's long history, dating back to pre-Roman times, may have provided fertile ground for such practices, with ancient belief systems and tribal customs intertwining with later, more contemporary occult traditions. Local historians have pointed to the possibility that the forest's reputation as a place of mystery and fear may have roots in these ancient practices. There are accounts of mysterious rituals taking place under the cover of darkness, of strange figures moving between the trees, their faces obscured by hooded cloaks. The whispers of these rituals, though often shrouded in myth, seem to be backed by the evidence found in the forest's undergrowth. It is as if the forest itself has absorbed the energy of these rituals over the centuries, becoming a kind of sacred space for those who seek to tap into the forces of the unknown. Some of the most unnerving evidence of occult activity in the forest comes in the form of reports from those who have dared to venture into the woods at night. Those who have walked the trails after dark often describe hearing unsettling sounds, footsteps that seem to follow them, distant murmurs that carry on the wind, and rustling among the trees that seems to have no clear source. These experiences often intensify near the ritual sites, where the very air feels thick with tension, as though the forest itself is alive with a presence that cannot be seen, only felt. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving between the trees, figures that seem to dissolve into the mist before they can be fully identified, adding to the eerie atmosphere of the forest. The presence of occult activity in Epping Forest paints a chilling picture of a place where the natural world and the supernatural collide. The evidence of symbols, altars, and sacrifices, along with the unsettling experiences reported by those who have ventured too close to these hidden spaces, suggest that the forest is not just a place of beauty and tranquility, but one steeped in darker, more sinister practices. It is a place where the boundaries between the known and the unknown are blurred, where the echoes of past rituals linger in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to resurface. Epping Forest, it seems, is not just a natural space, but a place where something far older, far darker, still resides, waiting to be discovered. Epping Forest, with its towering trees and centuries-old history, remains an enigma, a place where the lines between the natural and the supernatural blur into a terrifying tapestry of unexplained phenomena. The disturbing events that have unfolded within its darkened depths, shadowy figures that move of their own accord, occult symbols hidden in the underbrush, and countless reports of eerie sensations have left both locals and visitors alike grappling with one undeniable question: what truly lies beneath the surface of this ancient woodland? One possibility is that the forest is cursed, its dark past seeping into the present, and that the strange occurrences are the result of long-forgotten ancient forces. The area has a rich and tumultuous history, one that dates back to pre-Roman times, when it was likely a site of pagan rituals and sacred practices. The marks of these ancient customs may still echo through the forest, lingering in its very soil, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Some believe that the forest is haunted by the spirits of those who once lived and died within its boundaries, the restless souls of lost communities, or those who met violent ends in the forest's shadowy depths. Could these spirits be behind the disembodied shadows, the ritualistic sites, and the overwhelming sense of unease that many have reported? Perhaps these entities, bound to the forest for eternity, are not content with their fate and now seek to make their presence known in terrifying and inexplicable ways. Alternatively, it is possible that the unsettling happenings in Epping Forest are not the result of supernatural forces at all, but of something far more psychological: mental distress, isolation, or the collective anxiety brought on by the forest's reputation. The dense woods, with their eerie silence and overwhelming sense of solitude, can play tricks on the mind. The constant sense of being watched, the feeling of being followed, the inexplicable shadows, all could be products of the human mind's tendency to seek patterns and explanations in places where logic fails. In this view, the forest may simply be a place where the mind is stretched to its limits, manifesting fears and hallucinations that become indistinguishable from reality. After all, places steeped in mystery and folklore are often fertile ground for the imagination to run wild, and when combined with the physical and mental toll that isolation in such a dense, ancient forest can take, it's possible that what some perceive as supernatural is merely a manifestation of their own subconscious anxieties. But then there is the more unsettling possibility. What if the true nature of Epping Forest is something darker, something beyond our comprehension? What if the strange occurrences and chilling phenomena are not simply the result of ancient rituals, mental disturbances, or the imagination, but something far more sinister, something yet to be fully discovered? The occult activity, the inexplicable shadows, the feelings of being watched. Could they be manifestations of an intelligence far older than human history, lurking in the very roots of the forest itself? Perhaps the forest is not merely haunted by spirits or cursed by ancient forces, but is a living, breathing entity that feeds on fear, on the energy of those who wander too deep into its labyrinthine paths. This would explain the strange, unsettling feeling that many experience when they are lost in its depths. The sensation of being trapped in a space that does not obey the rules of reality, where the forest itself seems to actively manipulate time, space, and perception to disorient and control those who enter. The question of what lies beneath Epping's ancient roots is not easily answered, and the forest's true nature may be a riddle that no one can solve. At least, not yet. What is certain, however, is that the events and phenomena that unfold within its dark, twisted pathways are not the result of simple coincidence or imagination. The forest holds its secrets closely, and those who venture into its depths are often left with more questions than answers. Whether the causes of these sinister happenings are rooted in an ancient curse, the fragility of the human mind, or something far more malevolent, Epping Forest continues to be a place of mystery, terror, and unanswered questions. What lurks beneath its ancient roots may never be fully understood, but the chilling truth is that the forest's dark reputation is well earned, and it seems that the deeper one ventures into its heart, the closer they get to uncovering something far darker than they ever could have imagined.